Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Now, the Justice Department says over 17 million rand has been stolen from the Guardians Fund. It preserves monies on behalf of heirs, including surviving minors, unborn children, absent heirs and persons legally not capable of taking care of themselves. The department has initiated an internal forensic investigation. For more on this, I am joined by the department's Bheki Mbonani in studio. Thank you very much, Mr. Mbonani, for speaking to us this morning. Just to confirm properly, because there's been a lot of numbers flying around in terms of how much has been stolen by these cyber criminals. How much is missing from the Guardians Fund?
So I'd like to first start by saying good day and thank you for inviting us to talk to you about this case. Our preliminary investigation have pointed to about 17 million, but we are still investigating. So, and the case is taken out to the other law enforcement agencies, and so we will learn more and more as the case goes on. But currently, it's about 17 million.
My understanding is that this is not the first time in the last 3 years that this has happened.
So this case is actually unique in its own case.
Okay.
And we don't want to consider it as linked to the other cases. It is itself its own case, and as you know, all cases come with their own factors and issues. So that's what we want to talk about this one. But
all right. So why is this one different?
Because it involves the employees of the Department of Justice, and as the preliminary investigation has pointed out, this is not a case of cyber hacking. This is a case where the employees of the Department of Justice who are working in the Master's Office in Pietermaritzburg may have actually broken the law by literally getting into the system and converting a number of things on the system.
Do you know already from your preliminary investigations which positions we're talking about? Because my understanding is that in the master's office there'll be an assistant master and then obviously the master as well, and those are the people that usually sign off on who gets what, especially if a parent doesn't have a will. So do you have any idea what we're looking at? Are we looking at the actual lawyers that are supposed to be signing off on these?
So I don't have on top of my head right here, and I don't have the details of the forensic investigation itself and of the people who have actually been given a precautionary suspension. And so I don't know exactly the ranks. Four of our officials have been given those precautionary. And that is until we have actually finalized the investigation, is to help us clear the path where the investigation has actually been done and make sure that we finalize it.
And this is in Pietermaritzburg alone. So, you know, in terms of making sure that, I mean, previously, like you're saying, this case is different because it involves the actual employees of the department, whereas the other ones, for instance, in the Gauteng Master's Office, etc., it was cyber criminals. What kind of measures were put in place by the Justice Department from lessons you learned from the previous cases where it was cyber criminals?
So I don't, for those cases, I would not have much information to provide for them. But I mean, the fact of the matter is that once you get the payment stabilized and they're going ahead, everything, it means that the system is quite robust enough to actually take on and deliver what it's actually meant to do. So I can tell you that there have been quite a huge amount of work inside the department. The IT system itself has been actually robustly fortified. There has been quite a huge amount of work to actually make sure that that system is not actually easy to breach, and it is in the case that we are actually running stable right now at this moment, until, of course, after this breach that has happened internally.
Tell me how this has affected those who are expecting funds from the Guardians Fund.
Yeah, we are aware of the fact that a lot of beneficiaries have not been receiving the funds because as soon as we picked up
you paused everything.
We suspended it. And it's to make sure that we do a good investigation and also not to lose this amount, because this is actually our responsibility to preserve the funds for future use of the beneficiaries. So there have been a number of beneficiaries who clearly have been affected by this, and the department does want to issue out its apology to all and to state that we have now opened up all the payment sites, and we're working very hard around the clock to make sure that the payments are actually been done, so people can now go straight into the master's offices and get payment. Currently, I think since it's opened last week, we've paid close to about 50%. Already of all the outstanding cases.
Tell me about what the department is going to seek besides the reimbursement of these funds from people who will later be found guilty, number one, but also should they not be jail time? These are people who took advantage of, people who lost loved ones.
Yeah. Look, we've opened the criminal case with several law enforcement agencies. And we're working around the clock with them. The Hawks have assured the Department of Justice that the case is proceeding very well and arrest is imminent. So we are looking at getting those criminals who have actually done that. But I can also mention the fact that we've recovered part of a stolen amount, about 60% of that, which is about 8 million or so. We've recovered it over obtained the preservation order to make sure that we get that money back. So currently we are moving forward to make sure that those are done. Of course, the Hawks and the Asset Forfeiture Unit are working hard to find the leads and to claw back the rest of the money.
What kind of lessons has the department learned in case this is a problem that you find in other masters' offices besides Pietermaritzburg?
It's not a common case.
Yeah.
It is one sort of case that we are actually dealing with. But I can tell you that within the Department of Justice, we've set up a couple of task teams that are looking at that include the IT, include people who are responsible for the process management. And so there's quite a work that is happening there. The department also has met with ABSA. Our Director General has taken the senior management of the department, and they've met with the senior management of ABSA to discuss this case, to find out where the issues are, and also to look at the processes themselves and tighten them up a little bit more. And so I can mention the fact that ABSA is working very closely with the Department of Justice. It's collaborating with the Department of Justice to make sure that this doesn't happen. This doesn't happen again.
It's quite embarrassing for the department, isn't it?
Yes, it does take us back. It's worrying also to have our employees also fingered in that process. But we learn our lessons from this, and we are working now to make sure that the system is much more stronger. I can also mention to you that we are currently obtaining a service of a professional service provider who will actually do a broad due diligence on the whole architecture of the processes. And we're looking into that to see if we can actually get much more closer to making sure that we plug the holes that are actually happening. But I have to mention the fact that this is quite a unique in itself.
Yes, of course. You said 4 employees so far have been put on precautionary suspension. Is this with pay until they found guilty later? Yes,
precautionary suspension means that it is with pay. Remember, the investigation has not folded yet, so we don't have the final document on top of us. So this is a precautionary. We are making sure that we clear the path and the space where we are doing the investigation.
But do you have any idea, are you ruling out the possibility of more arrests? Do they not have links still to be able to call some of their colleagues who are still at the office?
So I'm not in a position to discuss those deeper issues there. because, as I mentioned to you, it's done in two different sides. One is a criminal case that is done by the law enforcement agencies. They are digging and finding out whatever they are doing, and obviously briefing the department in the right offices on what is going on there. Our internal investigation, the forensic investigation itself, has a finger at those four at the moment. There could be more,
yes.
and the process is still going on.
Yeah. Do you have any idea if ABSA employees are being investigated?
No,
okay.
yeah, I'm not so sure about that. In fact, I can't even talk on behalf of ABSA, because I think they have got their own processes going on their side as well.
But surely you would want them to investigate internally if there is a problem, because you're saying that that's the bank you use, right?
Yeah, once I think details come forward and point to that effect, then obviously I'm sure that ABSA, as I said, ABSA is collaborating very closely with us.
Because you know, Mr. Mbonani, there's the corruptor and the corruptee in these cases. And sometimes it's government and business.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I think the investigators are looking into that. I'm sure that they would not leave any stone unturned on those areas. I mean, as soon as they find out anything that they do, the department will be made aware, and of course our partners, the service providers, will also be brought into that.
Right.
We will keep you abreast about what
definitely.
the process is going through
on that. I'll speak to you soon then, as soon as there's some sort of finalization in terms of the investigations. But thank you very much for now for the information that you've given us. That is Bheki Mbonani. He is from the Justice and Constitutional Development Department.